You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast, where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women, whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling, or a long-term relationship. I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. I know I say this all the time, but I'm really excited for today's episode. I think it's awesome. If you're listening to this, that means that you're struggling with eliminating approach anxiety and beating the fear of rejection. Well, I was in bed the other night, and sometimes I just can't fall asleep because I'm thinking about content, I'm thinking about YouTube videos, and of course, this podcast. And something occurred to me. I remember making a program about 5 years ago, which is now discontinued. It was called How to Attract Your Perfect 10. It was a 10-module course. And don't worry, by the way, some guys get really like, what? It's discontinued? And they listen to the content and they love it. And they're like, I wish I could have it. If you have my program hooked, everything you need to know is in that program. So let's just say that the new program Hooked was a replacement and an upgrade to the old program called How to Attract Your Perfect 10. If you're interested in getting hooked, by the way, you can check that out at getherhooked.com. And that's where you can get this multi-module course. So anyways, I'm in my bed, I'm thinking about content, and I just thought about this course that I made. And I go, wow, there was some good stuff on there. And I know that it's discontinued. And once in a while, if a program is old, I discontinue it, which I haven't done in a long time. But I like to go into the content and see if it's still, in a way, relevant. I mean, I have been teaching the same principles and material over the past 10 years I've been doing this. But sometimes as years have gone on, I tweak things, I make things a little bit better. So I decided, let me go into the old program. Let me check out some modules. Let me see if it still holds up in terms of what I believe, in terms of what I'm talking about. So I went into module 2, and it was all about approach anxiety and rejection. And I know a lot of guys have a hard time with that when they're talking to girls. And I listened to the entire thing. I was every single minute of it. And I was like, wow, this is great content. This is everything I still believe in. It's everything that I teach. It's everything that I teach in my coaching. It's really, really good stuff. And it's a powerful 25 minutes. So I extracted the audio, and now that's what this episode is. So you're going to be listening to an audio from the old program that is super, super helpful. And don't worry, sometimes I know there's been times when I put in stuff in the archives and it doesn't sound as good, but this sounds crisp and clean. And more importantly, the information is gold. So if you have bad approach anxiety, make sure you're going to take notes. I would bookmark this. I would save this episode, come back to it. It's some of my favorite information. I did look into the old episodes of this podcast, and I thought, well, I know I talked about approach anxiety before, and I looked, and there are about 5 episodes of approach anxiety. But that's okay. Still listen to those. Those are great too. This is just kind of a refresher on the material and really concise stuff. That's why I wanted to put it on the podcast. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn from it. I know you will. And again, if you're interested in getting the more upgraded program, you can check that out at getherhooked.com, where you can have the whole system in terms of how to meet and attract women and have it in an organized fashion. And of course, if you need more help than that, and it's not just information that you need, but you need more hands-on help, getting you to go out there, holding you accountable to do approaches, and then having a custom plan for you specifically to beat approach anxiety, all you need to do is apply for coaching. And that's at coachedbytrip.com. And you can fill out an application today where I can help you specifically in terms of where you live and how your situation is very specific to you, help you beat approach anxiety. So what I recommend is start with this episode and then go to the coachedbytrip.com application page and fill it out in as much detail as possible. Okay. So hope that helps. Lots of resources for you. And without further ado, here it is. Enjoy. So we're here on module 2. And we're talking about eliminating approach anxiety and beating the fear. I know that approach anxiety can be very crippling to a lot of guys who are trying to learn how to attract women. They freeze up when they want to talk to a girl. They, say all these crazy things in their head, a lot of limiting beliefs that stop them from going over and talking to a girl. And I know this extremely well because I was one of those guys. And let me tell you, being a guy that had really bad approach anxiety, it never goes away 100%. So that's the deal. I said it. It doesn't go away 100%. There's nothing you can do to get it to go away 100%. But guess what? It doesn't matter. The real task here is being able to basically handle approach anxiety. Because right now, if you have it, you're not handling it. You're letting it beat you. So you need to beat it, right? So you're always going to have a little bit of a nervousness kind of feeling inside your stomach. And trust me, that goes away. It actually gets down to very, very, very little, like the size of a pea. But it's always still there, just on a small scale, which is fine because at that point you're able to handle it and it doesn't stop you anymore. So even though it might be there on a small scale, it doesn't cripple you. It doesn't stop you from doing those approaches. So for being able to eliminate approach anxiety and beat the fear, I've come up with, basically a lot of different methods that can help you beat it. And I've used these on myself. I've used these on, one-on-one students and group coaching students. And we've been able to successfully help really beat the fear out of you and get you going over there and approaching girls. Now, what I want to say is, if I had to just say one thing on the best way to beat approach anxiety, just like the number one thing that's going to help you, it's going to be baby steps. It really is. It's going to be baby steps. What you want to do is take it really slow. I've tried other methods where it's like, well, just have someone push you and just go in there. And sometimes that works for some people, but for a lot of other people, it doesn't. I mean, even myself included, many, many years ago, just someone pushing me into talking to girls, it just freaked me out more. It put so much pressure on it. So the best way is to start small. You start with little baby steps, going up to a girl and just saying, asking them where something is, ask them for directions somewhere, get used to talking to strangers. Right? That's the big thing is right now you're not used to talking to strangers. You're not used to talking to many girls, especially pretty ones. Just get used to talking to these types of people. And you're going to want to just kind of baby step your way over to it. First you're going to say, hey, where's the Barnes Noble? Where can I find that? Or maybe you'll ask her, hey, I have a question. I'm trying to get some ice cream. Where's the best ice cream place around here? Right? And then eventually you kind of work your way up to doing some sort of indirect approach or a direct approach, which we'll go over in a future module. But just remember that baby steps is your friend. You can beat approach anxiety. Trust me, you'll be able to do it. You're not stuck with it forever. You'll be able to get over approaching women, but you got to start with approaching. And it doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going to go over and approach this girl and talk to her for 20 minutes and get her number, which is what you're going to end up getting to. But it can even be as simple as just going over and asking them a simple question, asking them some sort of opinion, whatever it is. But just get over there and say anything you can, okay? So that's the big idea here. Now let's go over some specific stuff, right? So with that, I want you to talk to everyone for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'll be honest, you should really be talking to everyone for the next every single week for the rest of your life, okay? If you really want to get over the fear and bring it down to that little small pea-sized bit, that's how big your approach anxiety is going to be, just the size of a pea. You want to talk to everyone and anyone as much as you can. Now remember, that's one of the principles I said in module 1, right? Well, that is what's going to help you get over approach anxiety. That's one of the reasons why I have you guys do that and say that to yourself, because the more you talk to people, the more you're going to experience and the more approach anxiety will go away. You got to get used to conversing with people and talking to as many people as you can. Okay, approach goals. This is a really good one. A lot of guys, they might go out there and they might say, oh, I'm just going to, go out and approach and see what I can do. Bad, right? Like I said in module 1, you want to take a no pun intended, an approach to this approach, okay? You want to basically have those tangible, those measurable goals, okay? So that's what's going to help you with these approaches. So when I say approach goals, I mean pick a day where you go out and you do 10 approaches or 5 approaches. And again, it can be baby step approaches. It can be going out and just conversing with anyone on any topic you want, or asking them a question, or talking to, someone who's behind the register. It doesn't matter, but make goals. It's going to feel good and it's going to work when you actually go out with a plan. Have a plan. Okay, 10 people, here we go. I'm going to approach 10 people today, 5 people, or I don't usually recommend saying, okay, this week I'm going to approach 50 people. That's fine, I guess. I'd rather you be more specific, right? Instead, if you say you're going to approach 50 people this week, I'd rather you tell me that you're going to approach 10 people on Monday, 10 people on Tuesday, 10 people on Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday, right? As specific as you can. And go even more specific if you can help it. I mean, say on Monday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or Friday night at the bar at 9, 10 p.m., within the hour from 9 to 10, I'm going to approach 5 people. Like, the more specific you get, the easier it is to complete these goals. And once you complete these goals, then all the beautiful outcomes you want start happening. You start getting numbers, you start eliminating approach anxiety, you start getting more dates. Okay, so goals, goals, goals. Okay, positives outweigh the negatives. So a lot of people don't really think too much about approach anxiety and what it means and what it is and how it's crippling to you. They don't think about it. They just think, I'm scared and I'm not going to talk to this girl. But I want to, I guess what I like to call, out logic you for a second. You got to remember that as scared as you are to go over and approach that beautiful girl, just remember that going over there and approaching her, and maybe embarrass yourself, or maybe, she rejects you, or just maybe the outcome that you don't want happens, okay? And by the way, a lot of guys even go as far as to think that their boyfriend's going to come over and punch him in the face. The girl's going to slap you. She's going to scream at you. She's going to scream rape. Like, no, none of those things have ever happened. I've done so many approaches. I've had my students do, I've had so many students do so many approaches. I've seen 1 million approaches. And the worst I've ever seen is a girl, saying no thanks and walking away. Like, that's the worst I've ever seen, really. And just remember that you going over there and doing it is better than not. The positives outweigh the negatives. Doing the approach, it's always going to be better for you because you never know what's going to happen, right? A lot of guys, they say, oh, what if it doesn't work out? What if I embarrass myself? What if this person hears me? What if the people around me are hearing what I'm saying? That doesn't matter. Still going over there is going to be better than anything else. Like, you can't tell me that in any situation that not doing it will be better than doing it. Okay, so think about it that way. And that helps a lot of guys out. Okay, so here's when it comes to warm-ups. So a lot of guys, they don't have maybe even massive approach anxiety, maybe just a little bit. Either way, whether you have approach anxiety or not, before you do approaches, and again, we'll get to that in future modules. I'll teach you how to approach and what to do. But just know for now, before you do the approaches, warm-ups are key. Just like playing basketball, right? You're playing basketball. You're playing any sport. What do the athletes do? They warm up. They get their muscles all loose. They get it going, right? Same thing. You have what I call social muscles. We all have those. We have social muscles, okay? And with that means that they have to be warmed up just like anything else. Because once you've done a couple of approaches, let's just say you want to do 10 approaches in one day, you count maybe 3 to 5 of those approaches as your warm-ups, okay? So you're going to warm up. And when I say warm up, I mean, go over to a girl, ask a question, ask directions somewhere, the baby step approach. And then by your 4th, 5th, 6th approach, or at night at a bar, maybe you're just asking where the bathroom is, or what's a good drink to get, or what drink is she holding, right? Just little warm-ups like that, or talking to the bouncer, or talking to people in line, or making conversation wherever. All right, once you get to anywhere from 3 to 6, I think it's probably the magic number right there. It seems like anywhere from 3 to 6, you're really warmed up. And trust me, even guys who I've worked with, myself included, who have had a really bad approach anxiety, they're warmed up. You're feeling like a 180 from before you started approaching that day to now you're on the third or the sixth approach. Okay, because you kind of warmed up. It's kind of magical what happens. You just start to kind of get used to talking to people. You start to get that like magical energy inside of you that's pumping you up to talk to more people and getting you less nervous. You're kind of building confidence because you're doing the approaches and realizing that it's not that bad and people are actually really nice and no one's out to get you, right? Like I said earlier in the last module, women want you to approach them. They're rooting for you. They really are. They don't want to be single. They want to meet a man. They're rooting for you deep in their subconscious. And sometimes not. They're just actually literally sitting there being like, I hope this guy's awesome. Okay, because they want to meet you. But anyways, warm-ups are the way to go. That is truly the key to eliminating approach anxiety, is just by doing smaller approaches first. And again, they want to be approached, like I just said. Okay, but that's the mindset that you need to have. Okay, don't be thinking before you go over there, oh, she doesn't want to talk to me. Oh, I'm going to screw up. Oh, I'm not the one for her. Oh, she's so pretty. That's not true. That's all stuff that you're creating in your head. You have no logical explanation for any of the limiting beliefs that go on in your head before you approach a girl. You got nothing. I mean, unless she's literally making out with a guy who's obviously her boyfriend or whatever, that's different. But if she's there talking to her friends or maybe just hanging out, as long as she's not touching a guy in a sexual manner, she's ready to be approached. She wants to be approached. And that's what you need to be thinking. That's what's got to go through your head. And then rejection equals success, which we're going to go over in just a little bit. But just remember, it's kind of like another mantra. Rejection equals success, because rejection means that you took action. Okay? Let's talk about rejection. Big old rejection that everyone's scared of. This is why people don't approach, because they're so scared of rejection. They fear rejection. I'm going to tell you a little story about the worst approach I ever got. And let me tell you, it's a very short story because the rejection was so quick. This is years ago. I was at a club and I was doing a bunch of approaches. At this point, I'm warmed up, probably at least done, 4, 5, 6 approaches. And there's this really beautiful girl. And I go up to approach her, and she's kind of on the move, which, by the way, I strongly suggest you don't approach girls on the move at a bar, just because you really want to get it so you don't have any chance of them being interrupted. We'll go over that later. But anyway, she was kind of on the move, and I walk up to her, and the only word that came out of my mouth was, hey. That was like the only thing I could muster up at that time. I just said, hey, which obviously is it's just a very simple thing to say. And it's not very intimidating. It's not very intense. It's very simple, right? Hey. And she looked at me and she yelled out, fuck you, and walked away with her friends. So you might be laughing right now, and you should be, because it was hilarious. In fact, after it happened, I didn't even feel bad about myself. I was like, wow, that was a really strong rejection. It was almost such a bad rejection that it wasn't bad, because it was just so comical and so funny that a girl would just say, fuck you, for no reason at all, because all I did was say, hey. But to this day, I've never seen or had a rejection that bad. And I know what you might be thinking now, that rejection wasn't that bad. Exactly. It's never that bad. It's only as bad as you allow it to be. Again, it's in your mindset, and your mind is a very powerful tool that can work for you or against you. So rejection, the idea of rejection being bad, it's all in your mind. Here's the truth about rejection. Here's the absolute 100% truth about rejection. And the cool thing is that, like a lot of this stuff in this program, I'm not even just talking about rejection from a girl. This could be rejection from anything. This is rejection in its, in full. Okay? This is what it's all about. It's inevitable and it's going to happen. So everything that you want to do to risk not getting rejected, I'm going to tell you right now, it's impossible. Everyone has gotten it. Everyone's going to get it. You're going to get it. Okay? It's going to happen. Okay? And it is the building block to success because, like I said, it's inevitable. It happens to everyone. You've probably heard that Thomas Edison, what was it? He was creating a light bulb, and I think it was like thousands of tries that he did before he ended up creating what is now the light bulb, right? Something like that. Or something about how many inventions of his have failed. But who cares, right? Even to this day, like if you hear that, you're like, okay, who cares? He invented the light bulb, among a lot of other things, right? So you need to go through the rejection process to get to success. So that's why I don't want you to be scared of it. I want you to just know, oh, it's going to be there. And that's okay because it's part of it, right? It's not like, oh, she rejected me. This is wrong and this is not supposed to happen. False. It is supposed to happen. It is supposed to be there. It's there for a reason, and it's going to get you to success. You just got to be able to handle it. And trust me, it's not that bad. Okay? It doesn't mean failure. Exactly what I just said. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. You expect it, know that it's coming, you'll know how to deal with it, and exactly throw perfection out the door. I don't care if you're approaching girls or maybe trying to build a business or trying to invent something or create something. You throw perfection out the door. Okay? The beauty of this stuff is that you're going to have, it's like you're an artist and you have unlimited amounts of canvas to work on until you get the piece that you want. Same thing here. There's millions of women out there for you to practice on. Don't worry about perfecting it right now. Perfection is something that you can always strive for, but don't always try to get it and try to reach it because you'll never reach it. But for now, all you got to focus on isn't the idea of perfection, but constantly improving. What can you always do better? And you know what? If you're happy, truly happy with the results, then in a sense, you have reached your perfection because you've gotten to the point where you want to be. And that's great. And if you want to strive for better, then do it. Okay, but at this point, throw it out the window and embrace it. Embrace rejection. Let it just kind of walk right through you. Let it happen. Laugh at it. Embrace it. Okay, cool. This is what's supposed to happen. Don't shudder at it. Don't deny it. Don't make excuses for it. Just embrace it. It's not that big of a deal. So now let's redefine it. Because rejection has such a negative connotation to it. And what I want to do is give you a positive spin on it. Okay, by redefining it for you. It's very simple. All right, this is my my logic here. Rejection equals action. Right? That is true. Because if you're getting rejected, that means you're doing something to have gotten rejected. You don't just get, a girl doesn't just walk up to you out of the blue and says, I would never date you, and then walks away. Okay? That's not going to happen. So rejection means that you're taking action. Clear, simple. Agree? Yes, say yes. Good. Action equals progress, right? So if you're taking action, that means you're progressing. I mean, I'd hope so. But you know, in all seriousness, if you're taking action, you're doing something, you're putting yourself out there, you're on your way to progressing, or you're already progressing very far, right? So action equals progress. Progress equals results, right? If you're progressing in something that you're doing, that you're taking action on, you should be seeing results. That's what progression is. It leads you to getting the types of results you want. In this case, rejection equals action, which means you're going out there and you're talking to women. Progress means you're progressing because you're going out there and doing it. And every time you do an approach, you do learn something or get better. And then you end up with results because you're doing the approaches and you're talking to girls, and results equals success. Because that's what you want, right? You want results, and results equals success. So, therefore, rejection equals success, right? Which I said earlier, and now I just proved it for you. Okay? And you might be sitting here being like, well, still, but this and that and this and that. Okay, that's fine. And you can argue with this and you can think about it in all different types of ways. But why not think about it in this way? That's going to help you. That's going to push you. That's going to motivate you and get you results. You want to be successful at this. You want to be successful at meeting women. You want to get dates. You want to get laid. You want to find your perfect 10. Rejection's part of it. And rejection's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because you're doing something. Rejection equals success, my friend. Don't forget that. Homework number 2. We're going to push this a little further. Spark a conversation with a worker you've never talked to for as long as you can. Spark a conversation with a guy you've never you never met for as long as you can. Spark a conversation with a girl you've never met for as long as you can. 3 approaches I'm giving you. And like I said, the faster you do the homework, the faster you'll succeed. The faster you take action, the faster you'll progress, get results, and see success, okay? So I suggest you do the homework right away. And it's very simple. I just want you to talk to someone who's working behind a cash register, a waiter, a waitress. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a guy or girl. Doesn't matter. Talk to them. Talk to them as long as you can, just as long as you're comfortable doing. And I don't care how you open. I don't care what you say. I don't care about any of that. That's not, you might be like, well, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? Anything you can. It doesn't matter. Ask them a question about anything. Ask them their favorite cereal. It doesn't matter. Just spark any conversation that you can for as long as you can. And even if it's like 10 seconds, fine. Maybe it's 5, 10 minutes. Maybe it's 30 minutes. You'd be surprised that sparking a random conversation just with anyone can lead to something crazy because you're giving yourself an opportunity. So do it with the worker, do it with the guy, do it with the girl. Okay? So go ahead, do that homework, get it done as fast as you can. This has been Module 2, Eliminating Approach Anxiety, Getting Over the Fear of Rejection. And I'll see you on Module 3, where we'll start taking this even further.